Hey, I'm Lieutenant Garrett Kimball with the Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries.
I'm Paul Bernard, the Recreational Boating Safety Program Specialist with the Coast Guard based out of New Orleans. Our data tells us that 80% of boating fatalities are drownings, and of those people that drown, 85% were not wearing life jackets.
And so we want to talk to you today about personal flotation devices, or PFDs, also known as life jackets. The purpose of this video is to introduce you to the basic PFD information as well as to prevent fatalities on the water.
And we hope to help you identify a life jacket that you'll wear.
So this life jacket that Paul has on is a Type 1. Type 1 PFDs are intended for offshore use or places where rescue may take a while. Type 1 PFDs are designed to turn most unconscious persons face up in the water. This life jacket that Paul has on is a Type 2. Type 2 life jackets may or may not turn an unconscious person face up in the water. They look similar to a Type 1 but have slightly less buoyancy than a Type 1. This life jacket that Paul's wearing is a Type 3. Type 3 PFDs have less buoyancy than a Type 1 and a Type 2, and they're not designed to turn unconscious wearers face up in the water. This device that Paul is holding is a Type 4 throwable device. It's not intended to be worn, and it's intended to be thrown to someone that is in distress in the water. This flotation device that Paul is wearing is a Type 5 special use device. This particular type is designed to be worn on commercial vessels or merchant vessels as a work vest only. This flotation device that Paul is holding is a belt-style inflatable PFD. It's also a Type 5 special use device.
All right, Garrett told us about the different types of life jackets, from the Type 5 to the Type 1. The Type 1 is the most protective device, but it's also big, bulky, and uncomfortable, and most people aren't going to wear one of these in their day-to-day boating activities. The Type 5 belt style that I'm wearing is probably the most comfortable device on the market, but it's also the least protective. Garrett is wearing a Type 2 inflatable device that's comfortable and offers a high level of protection, and he's holding a Type 3 vest type that also offers a higher level of protection and is more comfortable.
When selecting a life jacket, it's best to choose one that you'll actually wear and not just stow in a compartment somewhere.
A strategy you may want to consider when deciding which PFD you'll wear is to wear one that's really comfortable and have a more protective device readily available. When you go shopping for a life jacket, you want to be sure to read that label closely. Garrett, what kind of information can boaters find on the label of a life jacket?
The label will tell you, number one, that it's U.S. Coast Guard approved and the approval number. It'll also explain activities that it's intended to be used for, as well as the size of the PFD based on body weight and chest size of the wearer.
There are child-style life jackets out there too. This particular one is rated for children from 30 to 50 pounds. The next category up is from children from 50 to 90 pounds, and then we get into the adult-style PFDs. You may find when you go shopping for a new life jacket that you open that label up and you start looking at it and there's something that's unfamiliar there. The Coast Guard is going to a new labeling system that uses icons instead of language. It's an international system that's recognized all across the globe. Some of those icons will show a slash through. You'll see a slash through a personal watercraft, a slash through towed water sports, a slash through whitewater activities. And when you see that, that means that device is not approved for those uses. This particular device is a 70 Newton device, which equates to a Type 3. And the icon shows that it is not designed to turn an unconscious swimmer up. What you'll also see on the label is an exclamation point. That's to draw your attention to the important information on this label. When you go to the store to buy that PFD, you can read the label. If you're ordering online, you don't have that luxury. We're finding there are a lot of non-Coast Guard approved devices making their way into the market and onto boats through online shopping giants. So be very careful that when you buy one online, you know you're getting a Coast Guard approved device. This particular device is not Coast Guard approved.
It's important that you know how to use your device. This is a manual style inflatable PFD. and you can find how to use it in the owner's manual. Inflatable PFDs are not approved for persons under 16 years of age, people participating in towed water sports, or riding personal watercrafts.
It's important to note that inflatable PFDs are not recommended for weak swimmers or non-swimmers.
For persons under 16 years old, you'll have to have an inherently buoyant vest for that child. It's also important to note that inflatable style PFDs do require more maintenance and upkeep. If you'll notice here, this is a manual inflation tube which should be used when making sure that this PFD does not have any leaks inside this chamber. These inflatable style PFDs usually do not come armed. They're equipped with instructions on how to arm them with the CO2 canister, and they give explanations for their use in the owner's manual. If you find yourself where you have to deploy your PFD, you'll need to rearm it before putting it back into use on your vessel. In Louisiana, all vessels are required to have one wearable, properly sized life jacket for each person on board. All vessels that are 16 feet and longer are also required to have one Type 4 throwable device that's readily accessible on board. All persons under 17 years old are required to wear a properly sized PFD while underway on vessels that are less than 26 feet in length. All persons riding or operating a personal watercraft are also required to wear a properly fitted PFD while underway. All persons on board a tiller-steered vessel that's less than 16 feet in length are required to wear a properly fitted PFD while underway.
You know, Garrett, our data tells us that fewer than 10% of adults wear a life jacket on an open motorboat. What we find is when there's an emergency on board, those boaters don't think to immediately get that life jacket and put it on. So boaters who make the bad decision not to wear a life jacket, you have to be ready to put that life jacket on the instant you feel apprehension. Well, Garrett, we've covered a lot of ground today. Where can boaters go to get more information?
To find out more information about life jackets, please visit our website. And while you're there, sign up to take a safe boating course.